Hello, I'm your host, Tel, together with my co-host, Schmidi, and today we have two guests in Choon and TestMir to go in depth about the vehicle side of things. So in the first episode, we talked about the problems we see with the infantry, and because we both know, Schmidi and I, that we are not proficient enough in those roles to, well, have good, informed opinions about that. We got two very experienced and very good vehicle players in here.
With us today is Choon, who's a ground vehicle individual, and TestMir, who will be our air vehicular gamer. So
Hello.
welcome both of you.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, let's get right into the meat of things then. How does vehicle combat feel at the moment, Choon? How's it going on the ground?
I played the game since closed beta, and I played until 2015. I took a break and I came back, and all kinds of things had changed. The Kai update or Cal, I don't know how you pronounce it. I wasn't playing
Combined
back then.
Arms Initiative.
Combined, exactly. Okay, so they changed a lot of things. Some of things have been in the game for a long time. It's something that I've been increasingly frustrated about. One thing is that when you're, for example, tanking, you slide so much. If you're on uneven ground and you're trying to turn, you keep sliding, and sliding is one thing, but it's also that when your tank is moving, normally when you use, by default, the A and D keys will turn your tank either left or right. So the A and D keys, when you turn them, your tank barrel also turns with them. I don't know why that is. I don't think it's a good mechanic. I think it's very frustrating because it becomes sort of something you have to counter, and I think that it would be way better if you didn't have it. If it would cause some kind of, maybe people would be way too accurate and it's way too easy to use it. I don't know. Maybe you could have some kind of sort of like what they've done in World of Tanks, and they also experimenting with it right now on the new NC tank cannon. Is that you can't turn your tank. It limits how fast you can turn your tank, because right now there's no limit. If you have high mouse sensitivity, you can do a 180 degree instantly if you have very high sensitivity, or 360 for that matter also. I mean, you could do something like that, so there's a limit to how much you can turn it, but having your tank barrel turn with your tank is completely stupid. I would really like to see that thing change. And I also believe that the tanks weren't. It feels like you're driving on ice a lot of time now, and I've known people have been complaining about that previously. I've never heard anyone voice that opinion to the devs when I've heard some kind of stream or anything. I'm sure they're aware of it. I'm not sure if there's something that they would be interested in fixing, if they can fix it. I don't know. It's something that I would like to see change at least.
Does that differ from tank? I mean, obviously, the Mag Rider is kind of like an, like exotic in that aspect.
Right.
Yeah, but like, does the Vanguard slide more than the Prowler? Like, or how does it work?
I think the Vanguard is probably the worst. I think Prowler is the second. Chimera has some other difficulties, a lot of problems actually.
Sure.
But so I think the Vanguard is the worst, and it creates a balance problem in my opinion, because the Vanguard feels very clumsy to drive. You're sliding, and if you're on uneven ground, your vehicle, maybe you're going forward and then you go into a little hill and your tank keep sliding to the left. So and there's this tank above you, you're trying to get to him. Then your tank starts sliding down the hill to the left, and then you expose your rear, and there's nothing you can do about it because it takes forever to turn again in that situation, if you can even turn. Like, you get into this very frustrating situation where you feel like it's not your opponent. Maybe, I mean, sure, it is also about skill. If you know that about the Vanguard, if you know that, by the way I'm positioning, let's say I'm another tank from another faction, then by the way, from the way I'm positioning myself now, the Vanguard he will start sliding if he's trying to go for me now. If you have that kind of awareness and you can see that, I mean, sure, that is smart, but I don't think it's good game design, though. I think that is a very, very frustrating aspect of it. It's also so what Vanguard then has is the shield. In front armor, in choke points, the Vanguard is superior. Unless you're fighting multiple tanks or you're getting shot from different directions. So you have to have more than one tank to fight the Vanguard front armor because of the shield. The shield just even the Prowler, if they're even if one 2 out of 2, 1 out of 1 2 out of 2 on both of them, it doesn't matter. Like if you have the front armor towards a Vanguard, I mean, you face the Vanguard front armor, the Vanguard will win because it just has the shield. It can just absorb so much damage. And the Vanguard winning by default in so many situations, I just think it's a very bad mechanic. Exactly what I would do instead, I'm not sure. I just think that it would be better if it was easier to dive. You wouldn't slide so much, and the other change that I said also, so that the turret doesn't turn with the tank, so you can have your turret still in one position while you're still turning the tank. That would be nice. But yeah, so I find it very hard to come up with a good solution here. But I'm critical of the way it is now because it sort of forces the Vanguard to have something that makes it insanely strong because of its being such a clumsy tank to drive. And there are also two different performance. You can have Racer, you can have Rival. I don't feel either of them is very good. I feel like Rival has some good things. I use Racer mostly.
What does Rival do?
It makes your A and D, so you can turn your tank faster. But it also, yeah, I've never gotten used to it, and I don't know anyone that I've ever played with that have actually used the Rival combat on the Vanguard. There are people that use Rival on the Prowler, on the Mag Rider, on the Chimera as well. But on the Vanguard, I don't know I've ever heard anyone say that, oh, I prefer the Rival on the Vanguard. I don't think so. Maybe there is someone, but I haven't come across anyone at least. I mean, there's all sorts of problems. I mean, I could go on. So I mean, I think the biggest problem, yeah. I mean, so the Prowler is also in a state right now where it is the fastest tank. It is very mobile. It's very agile. It has excellent DPS. It's very accurate. Like, it has so many things going for it.
It can one-shot ESF.
Yeah, it has 2 shots also for that.
While having
So
the fastest bullet velocity.
yeah, and also fastest reload of all the AP tanks. I think, yeah, it has. I mean, it's just such a good tank. So on Cobalt, at least, there is a reason why there are so many people tanking on TR, because it's just the damage potential you have with the Prowler and the ability to shoot aircraft. There's so many things you can do. It's the easiest tank in that way. So it's very strong in other aspects, but it also makes people become quite passive because you don't want to go in close quarter combat with Vanguards, for example. So, and Mag Riders, they can strafe, so they can also be frustrating to deal with in certain terrain. So it makes people play passively. You don't have to do it, but I feel like a lot of people get comfortable being passive, sitting on mountains, just shooting down, because why wouldn't you? You have high velocity, you have very high damage, and you can actually kill things quite efficiently, even if you're 1 out of 2. You can have a ranger on top and AP, and you can still kill things, whereas it still works on the other tanks having like a ranger or a ranger kind of weapon on top, but you cannot kill things the way you can with a prowler. And so yeah,
Is there like any trade-off for being deployed? So let's say you're Prowler on the hill and you deploy. I mean, obviously you're not that like you use
get tunnel
your
vision.
movement.
I think it's easy to get tunnel vision, but that's really on the fault of the person that's driving it rather than the prowler itself. As long as and it's not like everyone that is a prowler gets tunnel vision, because if you sit in a spot for too long, you're gonna get C4, you're gonna get flanked or something, because
That's
even
where we
though
see Prowler Spitfire turrets next to them everywhere.
Yeah.
Hot
exactly,
Prowlers under a construction sky shield with Spitfire
Yeah.
next to them.
exactly.
The thing about what you just said about passive vehicle gameplay. I was wondering, how did this change when DX? Well, you weren't around when Combined Arms was released, right?
No.
So, but did it change from if you look back at when you started playing? So let's say before 2015, is it different now, or can you? Because back in the day, I never tank or any. I've heard people say here and there that you can't flank and you can't kill Zergs like you used. Is that a thing, or is that a problem now still?
Absolutely. I mean, when I came back in 2020, I knew that the Vanguard shield that used to it used to be all around the Vanguard. So even from the
used
rear,
to be completely broken.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was insanely open.
Yeah, it was completely overpowered. So the first thing that I did when I came back was me and someone else. I was in a Prowler with AP. I was using Barrage, so you reload 30% faster, and I had the gunner, and I thought like, yeah, now I'm gonna be able to kill his Vanguard because I'm shooting in the rear. The shield doesn't work there anymore. He turns around and he still kills me. I remember that. I mean, that was bad on my part, obviously. But is that a good mechanic? That you'll be able to land all your shots in the rear of a Vanguard. But no, he can turn around, press F by default, and he has his shield, and he can turn around and still kill you. I was amazed, honestly. I don't understand how that is, how you're able to do that. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's a bad mechanic, and I also think that flanking is not something that the game encourages. It encourages people to play in big groups because that's the only way you're gonna kill something. If you're flanking, you have to have other people with you. You have to have numbers. And
for people who are unaware, with the CAI updates, before it, you took double damage from the rear, and now you only take 50% more damage.
I think it's
50% damage nerf.
And it's also so easy to get spotted because there is no cover. If there's water in between, if people are sitting on the bridge and you have to go, otherwise, like either you have to hack a terminal from behind them or something and go from a completely different spot to be able to flank, and that's going to take a long time because you're going to have to drive over the water with the Chimera mag rider or drive beneath it, but your speed is just is half of what it is normally, so you're way slower, and it becomes very frustrating. It's just choke points all the time pretty much, and it really favors the tanks that have the highest velocity and the least bullet drop. So the Prowler is probably the tank that in those kind of situations when there's a stalemate, Prowlers are excellent for that. Really good. And it becomes just two sides sitting each other and lobbing artillery at each other, and then they will always start pulling more vehicles. Like sometimes I see these stalemates for hours, and I don't know, it's not fun gameplay, at least. And there is, even if I've tried flank many times on Oshur, it's problematic. But so I think the mag rider is in a pretty good spot right now, at least I have to say. It's it is, I think so. I can't complain. I don't think it's too strong or too weak or anything. I think it is good, actually. You have to use your brain when you use the mag rider. Fighting Vanguard, for example, you always have to use your terrain a lot. You have to. So I was playing on Jaeger recently in a tank versus tank, sort of like a Jaeger, but like with tanks instead. So you're fighting. You can fight 2 out of 2, a tank that's 2 out of 2 with 2 people both inside both tanks, or you can do 1 versus 1s in the tanks. But what it comes down to when you fight this way is that you have to, you pretty much have to use AP and a halberd, because when you engage someone, you're only going to have one chance at hitting. So any weapon that shoots for several seconds or many more bullets, you're not going to do more damage. You need to have something that has alpha damage then. So you need pretty much halberd and the AP equivalent on any faction. And you have to be very fast, and he's there, and you have to get your crosshair at the right place at the right time. You have to predict where they're going to be, and you have to it's difficult to actually fight against people when they play it properly, like when you're actually using the terrain to your advantage, making yourself smallest as possible while still getting a glimpse at your enemy, so you can land the 2 shots from the halberd and the AP. I mean, that's how you should be playing in a tank, and I think the other top guns are useless. The same with the other weapons for vehicle gameplay. If you're talking about shooting infantry, that's a different story. But when you actually play the game competitively, that's how you have to play it. You have to show yourself for as short time as possible, as little as possible, and it's a lot about prediction and yeah, it's a completely different game. But
Is there any reason to use a top gun? Like, is there a reason to have a gunner? Wasn't it just better to
Like
put a
on
ranger on
live,
top
right?
and have 2 vanguards, or 2 prowlers?
I think if you're coordinated, you can probably do that. It might actually be better. But if you're not coordinated, because if you cannot shoot the same thing at the same time, that makes it harder. So if you're fighting, obviously, if you're fighting 2 tanks with 1 tank, they have more health. So if they're coordinated, they should win. So it comes down to that. But I think a lot of it comes down to you gain more XP like search from having a 2 out of 2 tank, because either you or your gunner will get the kill, and both of you will benefit from that. So from that point of view, I think it's more beneficial. But if you're talking about pure effectiveness, I think it's probably better with 2 tanks than 1 tanks. But then you have to be close to each other, shoot at the same things at the same time. So you're sort of like a 2 out of 2 tanks, but you're 2 tanks.
I feel like whether or not you should have 2 tanks or a tank with a gunner almost becomes kind of obsolete in a way, because I mean, obviously 2 tanks should be stronger than 1, right? And so the real problem is that there's no limiter on NBTs, and so it will always be better to have 2 than to have 1, right? The only
Not
problem is that,
always.
or like
No.
in a way, right? Like if you just put it as like a sterile calculation,
Yeah.
obviously, like obviously there's moments where it's better to have a gunner, and I think that no, right now top guns don't do any like real damage, do they? Or not enough.
They do, but I mean, they don't do near the same damage as the main gun does. So it's
They got nerfed a little with the AI.
yeah.
The difference in damage for with the nerfed rear damage, guns got more the damage buff per shot after that, so the rear damage is close to the same as it was before. But they didn't give that to the top guns, so they are weaker now for that.
No. Yeah, I feel like that is maybe the main point, no? That might make the actual biggest difference in how it feels and why there is so little dual tanks around nowadays, and just like 1 MBTs with a like AA top gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's that people that have played this game, it's been out for almost 10 years now. In less than a month, it's been out for 10 years. So no, wait. Anyways, so people have figured out how to play this game much better than they did 5 years ago, or not to speak of 10 years ago. So people like air is weaker against is weak against ground vehicles if you look at in the past compared to the past. But because people are better at taking out tanks from the air, it's harder. Like remember back in 2013, I used to be fairly untouchable if I was in a mag rider. There wasn't a lot of aircrafts that was able to kill me because people weren't good enough. But nowadays, even players that are in big outfits that don't seem to take the game very seriously can still kill me because they've figured out how to approach a tank without getting killed. So they are stronger because they've gotten better, but I don't know. It's a I don't know. I find it very hard to balance all of these things because I don't know how to. So it's obvious that people have a ranger on top because otherwise you're not really going to have a counter to any. If something comes from above you, all you need is one ESF determined enough to kill you, even if it has a nose gun. If you're alone, he could kill you if he uses like all his ammo pretty much. Like he could kill you absolutely. And if something else doesn't shoot him, he could actually kill you. So it's yeah.
You just hover above, right? And you can't get an angle on him.
Yeah.
You can just over time damage tick you down basically. Exactly. Now, wouldn't a solution just be reverting combined arms so that skill is rewarded more?
So one thing that Choon said is that, the macro, that's fine because you actually have to use your brain when you play it. And I think that's kind of a interesting point to take because for me, one thing that I've always asked myself, this is something that Planetside in general does pretty poorly, I have to say, and that is that it doesn't give you a lot of meaningful decisions to make, right? But when you play a Mag Rider, for example, it's so quirky or exotic in comparison to another MBT, right? You have so many trade-offs and so many downsides that it actually becomes fun to play, right? Because it's still viable, but it's just, it's just how you make it work. And when, like, I don't understand, for example, why there's no trade-off for, like, a Vanguard activating his shield. Like, why, for example, is it that he just gets a flat, just a pure benefit from it? Right?
HP, that's it.
Yeah, like, but why not make it so that he gets, the front armor and has, like, gets increased damage in the sides, right? And then he has to, like, position himself correctly and activate it. And then he gets the full bonus, and if he fails to use it correctly, he gets punished, right? And the Prowler, like, why not give him, for example, make him more vulnerable to damage while deployed? I think that one is like kind of a no-brainer, no? But yet it didn't happen. No, the Prowler can deploy and just gets, like, better stats in every aspect without any trade-offs, and movement is kind of whatever anyway. If your bullet velocity is so high that you can just sit on a mountain till the alert ends.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something there. I agree actually. Like you said before, like if you're, what I feel like happens a lot lately is, even if you shoot a tank or lightning or something from the rear, like the amount of times whatever vehicle that is can drive away around the corner, around over a hill or something, and repair or hide behind other tanks to so they can fight you instead, and it just becomes so frustrating. It doesn't feel rewarding at all. It doesn't feel like, what's the point of trying to flank when you cannot kill the first vehicle quickly before the other ones are shooting at you. So the amount of times I'm flanking and then I see, oh, there's 3 lightnings here. I'm not gonna be able to kill the first one, and looking at where I'm at right now, I don't know where I would be able to go to kill the first one and then hide from the second and third one, like, or just like go at them one at a time instead of fighting all of them. So it becomes like, okay, so how do I do this? If you could kill the first one fast, which you actually can with for example Prowler with AP and Gatekeeper, it actually kills a lightning in one go. 2 AP shots and Gatekeeper, it kills a lightning from the rear, whereas the Mag Rider and the Vanguard doesn't. So it's I don't understand how. So in a sense, Prowler is better at flanking for that reason, but that goes for lightning. It doesn't go for MBTs, for example. So it depends on what you fight against also. But I want to mention the Chimera also. I think the Chimera is in a horrible state right now. And Chimera is the new NSO tank, and for the gunner, he cannot look back, like right behind you. In third person, you can actually aim up lower than you can do when you're in first person. But then you're shooting through the tank, so you can't really see what's behind you. Then you can shoot a little bit lower, but
you can shoot through it.
Yeah, you can, but it's in third person, and it's quite hard. Honestly, I've tried it, but it's hard, and it still doesn't have the same kind of angle that you can get on the Vanguard, the Mag Rider, or the Prowler. You can shoot backwards, like even lower than even in third person. Even in third person, the Chimera. That's one thing that I find very, very annoying. The other thing is that if you cannot turn your tank. So your turret is tied to your tank, and I mean I can turn it if I'm driving it. I can turn my turret around, but if I want to move around quickly, so I'm facing forward, I want to have my front backwards, I want to turn it, then I have to press backwards and left or right, and if you're in a tight space, then it's gonna take me 10 seconds because I have to move a little bit backwards, then I have to go a little bit forward. It's sort of like a car.
A 3-point turn.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. That is very, very frustrating. That is very, very stupid. It's a horrible game mechanic because it creates nothing but frustration. Another thing that has been happening a lot to me lately is lightnings, harassers, anything. Just driving towards you. And when they do that, they get below the Chimera.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So you're trying to get away from them, but I don't have I don't have the speed to be able to get away from them, and I have to expose my rear, my side armor, or they'll sit beneath me and shoot me, and I can do anything. There's been times when I've been in a 2 out of 2 Chimera, and a lightning gets below me, and I cannot turn in any way to get rid of him. He will kill me or almost kill me because I just cannot get away from him.
Can't look at him, right?
Yeah, I cannot get an angle on him.
Isn't that the same thing with the Mag Rider though? Because all the time, like when I said in Ground Troopers Harass, that's true.
He can get away. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you have like a stupid Mag Rider player, then he can't find the shift key, but a good can, right? So that's a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like with the Chimera, they made a tank that is ass to play and feels horrible. And to balance it out, they keep trying to make the numbers bigger. It now has the health pool of a Vanguard and an AP cannon that deals 20% more damage per shot as the Vanguard.
That's nutty.
Yeah. I mean the Chimera. So there's also the tank main cannons. I feel like the Chimera is the cannon that has the least amount of mouse acceleration I mean, compared to the Prowler and the Vanguard, at least. I would say the Vanguard has less than the Prowler. I feel Prowler has more mouse acceleration than the
It's all spaghetti when it comes to that.
Yeah, but it feels horrible. But I think that I feel like I like the Chimera better for that. I feel like I'm better at shooting with it. But
the Chimera also has the most angle upwards more than the other.
But let's try and explain mouse acceleration quickly, because it's like, it's pretty well known if you've ever touched like an air vehicle or so. But for some people, this might be kind of like a strange, way to look at it, right? It's basically, if in layman's terms, right, you move your mouse, but your mouse input has like a small random additive to it, right?
So we have in all vehicles, in all air vehicles and in MBTs for the main cannons, we have forced mouse acceleration and dead zone. Dead zone meaning that small inputs don't get registered at all, which is terrible for hover duels. If you're a Reaver and you want to track a scythe just holding control, which means it's descending, you can't do it smoothly.
Yep.
There will always be little hiccups in between. And we also have acceleration, meaning that if you move your mouse the same distance, but you do it faster, you move more.
Aim further.
Thank you.
It's like
the longer you look into one direction, the the more you look, basically.
No, like if I move my mouse faster, I will go further. If I move it slower, I will go less far. It got introduced with the PS4 port.
2015, middle of
Yeah,
2015.
I mean, it
something.
makes perfect sense
Yeah.
because the mouse acceleration is basically a poorly emulated joystick.
Yeah.
Right.
That is
like,
also
so-
something that every serious pilot has to deal with. We don't just have to decide on a in-game sense and DPI. The joystick sensitivity and joystick dead zone settings in-game also decide how the mouse acceleration feels and how the dead zone feels.
Hmm.
So as a pilot, you have a sense and DPI and joystick settings that matter.
Yeah, and whether or not you tick the joystick thing makes no difference, right? It's like I heard it's really cool.
There is a conflict going if that is placebo or not.
Okay.
That I'm not getting into.
But the thing I found most disturbing is that, right? So Daybreak has refuted this ID pilots that mouse accelerate. Right? They say,
I mean, it was never acknowledged for like the first 4 or
Yeah.
5 years. I mean, there are Reddit threads about it. Like every month, there's one that gets upvoted a lot. There was one like bright moment during a Rel interview where he was like, he's seen a lot about that mouse acceleration thing. If someone could make a video and send it to him, that would be great. But then there was never a follow up to it.
Oh
And
wait, no, but the
that's very
community made a
sad.
video, no? Like
But
and,
peop-
A lot of people made videos.
but people figured it out, right? So first they acknowledged it, then people went looking what would it be, and they found out you can
Semi-deactivate it.
yeah, kind of. Yeah.
A lot of science went into that, but nothing really useful came out of it. If you plugged in a controller or virtual controller and did any joystick input, while that input is active, you didn't have any XL, but you still have the dead zone.
Yeah. But
that
why-
would screw up your controls? So I don't know anyone personally who does that.
I think
Right
Cedric
now.
does it. That's the only person I know.
Really works out well for him, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I was about to say that, dude. Oh man.
One more thing I wanted to add to the
Yeah.
Chimera that I also
yeah.
find
So
extremely
yeah, go ahead.
frustrating.
Let's cover it back to the ground beacons. Yeah.
So the main cannon, it's a projectile, and it's very big. So when I'm shooting at something, I have no idea if I'm shooting too low or too high because it's so big that I cannot see where it actually hits. So
True.
when I'm trying to adjust my shot, I'm like, okay, I try 5 times above. Okay, I'll try 5 times below the first time I shot there, and maybe some of them is gonna hit. I have no idea.
The traces are changed on PTS though, right? For the
Um,
camera.
I'm not sure. Maybe it has. I'm not sure, but that would be great news actually because it frustrates me to death sometimes. I can see infantry. I'm like, it should be there, and no, it wasn't there. So I try 5 times, and none of the times is actually where I want to shoot, and I don't even know if I'm shooting too high or too low because the projectile is so big that I don't see where it lands. That was the final thing. I'm sure there's other things also, but this is the kind of things that frustrates me a lot, at least. All right.
What do you think about MVT and lightning balance? Does the lightning have a place?
Well, the thing is that 2 lightnings that play together are stronger than an MBT. I mean, but it comes down to I feel like there aren't that many players. The people that enjoy the ground vehicle game, like tanks, for example, they mostly pull MBTs. Whereas lightnings are, you could pull them from bases, so you can pull as many as you want. There are good people that are good with AP lightnings or yeah, a Viper lightnings example. There are people that can use them, but I think that most people prefer tanks. They have more health. They're not as, they don't die as fast, but they do have. I think the AP lightning has. I feel like it. I like the way the gun feels. It has less mouse acceleration. It also has this, like, the Prowler, for example. When you move your turret fast to the left and right, there is this delay. Your crosshair doesn't catch up until like a half a second later or something. And so I can't really explain it. I know that maybe that's not the right word for it, but it's delayed at least. So when I go to the right, it's gonna take a little while for it to actually, the cannon to actually be exactly where my mouse stopped, and that's quite frustrating when you're trying to adjust from one direction to the other. I've never really gotten used to that, but maybe it's just because I'm bad. I don't know, but that's another thing. But I think there is room for the lightning, but I still don't. I think that it's still it's viable, but I think that people who aren't just playing by themselves are better off. You have like a ranger on top. You can also have a ranger on top, and it's also quite cheap with the tanks if you have an discount an ASP, or even if you don't have a discount, you have ASP. It's also cheaper. It's quite cheap as well. So I think you're pretty good off actually with a tank. But there are people who prefer it over. But I think it's pretty good actually. It's the fact that you can also pull it from bases that makes them quite strong. But I don't think that many good players actually use the lightnings to their full potential. There are some that use it, and then it's quite deadly. But I think that it has a lower profile and everything. It's so you can use the terrain to your advantage, obviously, in a way that you cannot. You can do it in the other tanks also, but it's yeah, it's to an advantage sometimes. Sometimes it's not. That's pretty much it. Because sometimes the lightning is too flat to look over a rock that is slightly higher, where a tank can actually look over. So it's not always an advantage. I think that the problem comes down to who do you balance the game after? The top 1 or 5% of the player base, or do you balance it to some kind of middle ground, or do you go again new players? I don't know. I think that this game is like, for some things it's more towards the 5%, whereas in other things it's towards the bottom 5%. Maybe it's I feel like it's depending on what, like, pilots that are dedicated pilots. I think that it's being able to become a good pilot. It takes a lot of effort. There's so many things you need to have in mind, and not to speak about all the mechanical skill you need to do it and everything, and how to when do you accelerate, when do you stop, if this person does that, what do I do in response to that, in order to um, not get hit as much, and also to deal as much damage as possible. And then you have a limitation on your mechanical skill, for example. Like, there's so many things that you can learn, and it takes a long time to get good at it. And
I do feel like, oh no, I do feel like in the tanking department. Sorry if I interrupted, but
no,
I kind of wanted, yeah, I kind of wanted to get that one out there because I feel like, the combined arms initiative is somewhat of maybe one of the first steps towards stuff like skill compression that we see, right? Where they say, like, like, where basically flanking becomes less viable, although that is kind of like the skill like expression you can have on a vehicle, right? And so I don't quite understand, right, necessarily where that balancing idea comes from, right? Because it trivializes the content. Or this is what we see, like, it now has stepped from becoming like a vehicle only thing to becoming something like, it now stepped into the infantry realm with the Arsenal update, right, where it trivialized gameplay. No, and it sounds very much like, exactly what you described, right? That when you shoot at a tank, like when you get a flank off, for example, but you don't have the power to just like completely blast the tank you flanked, and then he can just retreat into his buddies, or just like drive away, basically, right? That sounds exactly like kind of a, the poor infantry like transactions we get nowadays, right? Where you basically take turns to shoot at each other, right? And it's like, that doesn't sound like a healthy game design, no matter who you design it for, right? Because even the bad player, they can kind of live in the delusion that they have an impact, right? But because they hit you, but the good player understands, like, oh, we're just taking turns at one another. This is meaningless. That why it's not fun.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's
But is it at that point?
I don't know. I would like to understand the vision of the game, honestly. What's their vision? Who do they balance the game after, and what do they want to achieve? Like, who are they I mean, are they catering to? I mean, this game has been around for 10 years. Some game developers, they will just produce games that are get a lot of hype and they will sell a lot of money and then they give up. But this game has been out for 10 years, so they must have another vision of this game. Obviously, since they want it to continue, I would like to know what that is and what do they, how do they balance it? How do they retain new players, but also keeping the experienced players, the good players, still interested in the game, or do they want them in the game still? I don't know, honestly.
I remember the harasser was also nerfed precisely because of that reason, no? Because you could like drive up behind tanks that are chilling on hill or so and just blast into somebody's ass and then they die.
I removed that. Like, if I was Daybreak, why do I make this game? I make this game because I want to make money, okay? Like, they can say all about passion and stuff. I'm sure the devs are passionate, but publisher, the people who are in charge, continue this game. They keep the servers up because they want money from us. Who is gonna pay you money, right? The people that stick with the game, that want to play, and not the. I'm 2 weeks into the game. I'm not gonna buy an anniversary bundle, right? Unless I have
Too much money.
10 million euros in the bank and I don't care, okay? But most people do it because they like the game and they are invested to it, right? And if you take all the depth out of the game, then those long-time players get turned off by that because there's nothing to play for. Like, we've done all the directives, done all the capping. Then what's the point of playing for me if they take away stuff that I can do? If I can't backseat repair, why do I
agree with
play?
your feeling, but do you think backseat repairing harasser it gives us more skill and depth in the vehicle gameplay?
Good question.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point actually. Yeah, that's a very that's true.
Yeah, I think we just shoehorned that
but
into
is
our
it
narrative.
maybe not more skill, but it is another thing. It's not.
I'd rather remove that from the game and because if that's in the game, you have to balance the harasser on people having a bot in the backseat all the time. Otherwise, it might be ugly. I'd rather have the harasser be more
Okay, that's
tanky
also
and not have that in the game.
I would just like the harasser to have more damage and be more squishy. Like,
it's ever since the AI, it's a little sad. AV harasser is not as explosive and fun as it used to be.
Exactly. That just kind of has to change. I don't understand why they made that in the first place. Honestly, was there like a huge?
We had
outcry?
A huge amount, not an outcry, nothing from the players. They had a huge amount of like resistance types. Like the striker had its own resistance type. AA knows guns have, and they got confused with that, and they wanted to reduce the numbers, so they had an easier time balancing things. But had made a different problem. That is that suddenly these 3 guns that are in the same category are overperforming on different vehicles, and we can't nerf the whole resistance because then this other gun becomes too weak. And this is where we are right now.
Yeah,
that's cooked.
And
now we have too little resistance values to make everything work correctly.
And my opinion of harassers is like the equivalent in the animal world of a vulture. They will look for their victims or that are dying or on low health, and they will go in and shoot at you, and they will annoy you, and then you try to chase them down. You hit them 2 times or something, and they're burning, but they still get away and repair, and then they come back again. And it's just so frustrating. It's like the cloaked flashlet with fury or something like that. You don't see them, and then suddenly just end up behind you. You don't hear them, you can't see them. Suddenly there's a fury flash behind you, takes half your health away with a and by the time you turn around, you're like, okay, well, where is this flash? Where did it go there? And then you have, I don't know. It's I don't know. I think it's frustrating, and I think that harassers. I think Schmidi, I think your solution that would be better. That they are squishier, but they have more damage output because that would be way more fun to fight against. So you don't have to,
as it was before.
Yeah, so you don't have to run after them and shoot them 5 times to kill them. I remember in have a video. In like 2020, I had to hit a harasser 5 times with the AP Prowler to kill it. 4 times because they have backseat repair also. I mean, it's very difficult to hit a harasser 5 times when it's running away from you at full speed. And
I mean, at that point, you're lightning, no? Like at that point, you take as much as a lightning, right? Or a little bit less.
I think no, as a lightning
Kinda
would
insane.
have died in 5 shots. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
4 shots. It would take as many shots as a lightning. Actually, it would also die in 5 shots, but it's way more mobile. So I think the harasser was in a bad state. Harassers have been, in my opinion, historically quite overpowered. Especially back in the day when you could repair at the same rate as you did outside of the harasser in the backstate.
That's broken.
Yeah.
Damn.
But
I
that
loved one clipping prowlers with an Aphelion.
yeah. So I mean, it would be more fun because then you could be more aggressive. You don't have to have these passive vulture harassers that just go in and shoot at you when you're low or when you're engaged by something else. It's just.
I mean, they will still probably do it, right? Like, it's kind of in the name. Like, that is probably what they're made to do. Like, that will probably not go away, but at least you can punish them if they are too greedy.
Exactly.
And now they're too safe.
They can actually do something then, right? Because they can they have killing potential in one, let's say, quote unquote strafe run. But if they need to be stealthy about it, because if they do get spotted, then they can get insta blasted. So
I think
mean,
we're
it's
all on the
just
same
more
page
fun.
on this.
Yeah.
I think it's so weird that it's not being picked up because you can clearly tell that it's designed to be this way, right? It's like a buggy, right? But yet it's like pretty tanky and doesn't do enough damage on its own now. Like I don't understand how it takes this direction even.
I rarely see them around anymore.
Only choosing infantry with like
cobras. Yeah, but no like ground trooper. But like back then, I mean, even after combined arms, I still saw them. But nowadays, like, rarely see harasser doing eco stuff.
He came back for Outfit Wars, but he doesn't play harasser there most of the time.
I mean, he used to in Outfit Wars Season 2, no?
True.
Yeah, but that's okay. But then let's say we go onto the air, and if there's anything, because I was wondering, like, how apart from all the mouse excel and ESS, which obviously hate and like to see removed, how is the air balance at the moment? Is it good or was it better before? I guess, but what do you think about it?
Okay, before I start saying anything, if there's one takeaway from this episode that it would make the air better immediately for literally everyone, it's the mouse acceleration. Please, if you remember anything, remember that mouse acceleration is the worst thing about the air right now, and the one thing that keeps new players away from actually flying.
Yeah, it keeps all people frustrated, like Choon.
It's also like it's legit worth to mention that this isn't like some petty grievance. This is like your like fundamental gameplay is broken, right? Like you cannot properly fly an ESF without doing like actual witchcraft, right? Like every time TestMir introduces a new pilot, from like the infantry circle to the air, it's always like, oh, what sense? How do I do this? What is the setting? Because if you don't adjust it, you will have a bad time, right? And so it's like
even if you do adjust it sometimes, right? If you can't handle them up, even if you do adjust it, you might have a bad time.
Yeah, it would always be muddy.
It's a terrible feeling. Like it feels like you can't aim. A little bit, nothing happens. Move a little bit more, whoop, your reticle goes up meter. Just it goes against your gut feeling. It doesn't make any sense, but it works like it does now. And
I think the worst aspect is actually the frustration. Like, if it's someone that is actually better than me, I don't feel like if I'm fighting someone that I know is a better player than me in whatever aspect of the game is, I don't feel that's frustrating. They were better than me. But if I'm losing to someone because of something that shouldn't be in the game, some kind of stupid thing, like when you're sliding in a tank, or a lightning driving below you in a Chimera, or mouse accelerations like that. That thing frustrates me like nothing else, because the game would be so much better if it wasn't there. If it
Yeah.
wasn't there, if it was my aim that was limiting me when I'm fighting someone, it's okay for me. I don't have a problem with that. But if it's something that is just makes the game, it makes it less enjoyable and way less rewarding than what it could be if it wasn't there. It's
It's like like mouse acceleration in the air game sounds to me like screen shake for infantry players, but it's constant,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
It's a barrier of
Yeah,
entry that doesn't have to be there.
exactly.
Now,
yeah.
mechanics that make air worse, though. Besides that big one. We got lots of little changes to the air over the years, and a lot of them made the air like more passive. I feel like in a perfect world, you in the air should have as many moments where you shoot something, because doing nothing is boring. One of those examples would be construction right now. If you're not aware, if you shoot any construction item as an aircraft, literally every AI AA turret in your render range, no matter which enemy faction, will start shooting you, and they will hit every single bullet until you get out of their render range. The result of that is, if you are trying to kill a Banshee Mossy as an air-to-air ESF, and that Mossy just runs away to a sky shield, you hit that sky shield once, you literally get punished by death for trying to kill that air-to-ground ESF. I think that's bad gameplay.
I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds incredibly frustrating, and it must be even more frustrating knowing that this was on the verge of being changed, and now
I
you're
was
back to old.
so happy. I was fucking doing the everywhere I went, and then Rel tweeted, and I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I
so
don't,
it's so
I don't
crazy.
get it, man. Look, this is an FPS game. It's PvP, okay? The Spitfire being there is bad enough. And now you can just build like Minecraft bases with AI turrets that shoot anything in sight.
Look,
What is this?
As infantry, you can ignore construction and just be like, yeah, some guys build Legos over there, I don't care. As air, you can't do it because there's construction everywhere and people will hide there. People will put sky guards under it and they will blink away at you and you just can't fly there. Everything about construction is made in a way that air can't really interact with it.
I mean, the entire construction thing is like a whole box in itself. Honestly,
Separate episode.
Yeah, like for us as infants, it's like, yeah, we can ignore it. It's even worse is that you have to ignore it, right? Because there's paint spires and AI turrets.
It's not made to be interacted with.
Exactly, yeah. And so we have basically the same problems. Yeah, we have basically the same problems as infantry players with bases, but the only difference is that for you, it's part of the gameplay loop.
One thing that I would like changed with construction to make it much more friendly to actually interact with it. I wish there was no AI turrets in general, because I mean, don't get me wrong, it will still be incredibly annoying when there's a fucking guy who doesn't like having fun in the turret. But at least I wouldn't get shot by a billion turret in my render range just for trying to chase someone.
And they wouldn't have 100%.
Yes, that too.
Yes.
An AI turret is just like, never let anyone sit in a construction anti-air turret. They will do worse than the AI.
Yeah, it's
definitely. It just doesn't.
I don't understand. Like, someone at Daybreak must have thought, this is what we're gonna do with it. Like, this doesn't come out of thin air. Someone thought of it like, oh, an AI module for the turret, and that got in the game. What?
Yeah. What bothers me the most part about it is that it's like not good in any aspect. It ruins, like, it's not good as an experience. It's not good for the person that's building the base, because you're actually, then you can leave it alone and have sessions that look very close to the ones that hackers can have, right? With like 8 kpm, 300 KD sessions just shooting your flail on OSHA, and I think you all have seen the unknown username post about it, right?
Big fan.
Big fan, of course. It's because it's so ridiculous, right? And so the AI tools enable that, and it's also that it gobbles up server resources like crazy. No, we had I think, was it Andy I don't know. Like no, it wasn't. I don't know.
Carter, maybe?
I don't know. Some person was like vehemently against construction because of the server load, right?
Oh,
I have no idea.
It could be. I don't know. But
Sounds
it's
like something Drew would say.
but it is completely beyond me. While yet it is still in the game, it syncs up your resources. It's a non-interactive gameplay, and it enables one of the most toxic playstyles ever. And yet, you know, people can like band together on Reddit. Not even a lot of people, and are loud enough, you know, to make a significant change. Meanwhile, we have to do like quadruple cartwheels like through burning loops, you know, to get even a mention of how broken shotguns are, on how horrible mouse acceleration is, etc. This is the most frustrating part about engaging with the Planetside, like, or quote unquote engaging with the Planetside developers or the community, because it feels like you have to bend, you know, you have to do like the Olympics of mental gymnastics to, you know, make like to get anything out there, and yet that gets changed on a whim. I don't understand it. But anyway, let's not talk too much about construction.
the air balance.
Next
Air balance.
thing. Construction. Right now, if you touch an air shield, like a construction sky shield, you'd always take fixed 2,000 damage when you touch it. And ESF has 3,000 HP. And you have to touch it if you want to get in there. Like a lot of bases are like engulfed in the ground and completely shut off by the shield.
That's true. Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to get below that shield, you are already in a terrible position as an aircraft, because you get one shot by a spear turret, by a Desi, by literally everything that's down there, and there is no space for you. So I don't see why you need to be punished for going into that terrible position already. I feel like it just makes it easier to play passive and run back to a construction base and be safe there. I'd like you to at least have a chance to contest whoever's hiding below it.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone like would have something against it, that the faction who doesn't have air superiority doesn't get to air to ground. I don't see why you should get to air to ground without having air superiority just because there's a Lego base nearby.
No, that makes sense.
I would like no AI anti-air turrets and no damage on the sky shield touching. And if you want to give me a treat, right now you can shoot through the sky shield from below, but not from above. So you can just hide tanks and skyguards below a construction sky shield, and there's nothing you can do against it. I think that's too powerful, and it just rewards being passive. I'd like it to be a two-way shield, so you can't shoot through it from below. I think you have that problem too on the ground. Like you have these shield emitters for infantry that you can just like put in the stairs of a triple stack, and then you can shoot people from below, and they can't do anything against it. I think that's a lame mechanic, and I would like that to be removed. Yeah.
Right. I agree.
I agree also with that.
Next point, and no more construction, I promise. 5 years ago, we got something new introduced to the ESF called Engagement Radar. Ever since that is in the game, if you're an ESF, you can see every aircraft on the radar around you as long as it is within 600 meters of you. With that change, we got into the stealth meta, where literally every ESF has to run stealth all the time, unless you want to get detected by everything. I feel like that makes it harder. Like if you don't want to play stealth, that makes it harder to kill gangs, like to actually, if you're the better pilot, kill multiple people at the same time, because the moment you get in that giant radius, you're on the radar, everyone's turning for you, you get ganked, you're dead. I wish we just wouldn't have engagement radar at all. It was introduced to make it easier for new pilots to like find targets, but every skilled pilot uses stealth anyway, so we're invisible to them. And we who have stealth, like new pilots don't have stealth. We see them immediately and can clip them even easier.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly like I think I said this in the episode with character, is that a lot of the fixes they attempt come from the same place that created the problem in the first place, right? And so all you have is like a you know, like an Ouroboros, like a never-ending cycle of like band-aid fixes strapped onto each other. You know, I feel like you know how Battlefield, how you can have like an air radar in Battlefield 4? and it doesn't. It functions similar to like a sonar or something, but it's 2D, right? And so it only tells you kind of like the direction of aircraft, but it doesn't give away their position entirely. I think they should just have that inherently instead of like the
I would
normal
like-
minimap.
The original devs of Planetside were smart enough to give every ESF and every aircraft its very own and distinctive sound, not just like the aircraft itself, but also the guns. That you don't need engagement radar. A good pilot will hear you before you're even on the radar.
Yeah,
I get it if you want like a 100 or 200 meter engagement radar. So when you're in a hover duel and the good pilot fucking destroys you by boosting in every direction and you lose track of him, that you can at least see where you're getting destroyed from. That was the original idea. But 600 meters is too much for that.
But the good pilot thing here again, right? If you think about it, right, this all comes back to like similarly to the skill compression issue.
It is literal skill compression.
Yeah, and I mean I guess you'll get into this later, no, with the coyotes as well, huh? But
yeah.
But the sad part about it is that the new pilot is seen as like a separate sterile entity from the good pilot instead of the natural progression making the bad pilot to a good pilot, right? And so instead of encouraging people, to try and learn the air game and try and get better at it, right, they are given, like essentially easier steps towards it. And I guess the fact then that
traps.
Exactly. Okay.
And getting better in the air game is especially difficult. Like it's not like infantry. You can't if you get destroyed in a fight, you can't just switch. There's only one sky per continent.
That's true.
You can't.
Yeah, limited by nanites as well.
Anyone. Yeah.
You get one clipped every time you run out of nanites, and you have to wait a couple minutes before you get one clipped.
To that.
Oh, okay.
But stealth. If we remove engagement radar, stealth will need a buff because the only use of stealth right now is blocking that. Before it was a thing, stealth would block strikers and coyotes. I wouldn't have a problem with stealth doing that again.
Or log on time, no? That's what it does in Battlefield.
It does that too in Planetside.
Oh yeah. But does it have the ground interaction that if you fight close to the ground, you're harder to log onto as well? Is that in Planetside
harder to log onto? It's just more time.
Oh.
I don't know how many seconds it is. I think it's 3.
1 second.
Just one?
I think so.
That's minuscule.
I don't know. Nah, like it's very noticeable.
Yeah. Like if it's 1 second, it should be more.
It's definitely more.
Maybe it was 1 second before. Maybe it changed. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like it's just 1 second when I'm flying, at least.
we have a big problem with how ground to air works right now. Most of the flak in this game, like Sky Guards, Bursters, Rangers, they work just as well over range as they work close up, meaning that they're better at defending air-to-ground pilots than they are at fending them off. Because when I'm close to the ground, I have cover next to me all the time. Like just dip. But if I'm like an air-to-air ESF and I want to go in for an air-to-ground ESF, I don't have cover. I get fucking destroyed by flak, especially in overpop fights. I just can't kill the air-to-ground. I don't see where this is helping anyone. Like people on the ground are crying that they get bansheed, and I'm here to save the day, but I'm not allowed to. It's just another thing of your faction lost air superiority. Why are you still allowed to ground pound in peace in an overpop base? That's one of the things that make overpop fights so much worse, because you can't do anything against all the force multipliers. Just let me do something against the force multipliers. I'm right here.
Yeah, that's true. But one thing that also kind of polluted this dynamic as well, no, this is something like I think you've talked to character about as well, no, is the masthead. Right.
That was like the prime example of it.
Yeah, because it's like, right, for a faction, like if you purely look at the NC as a faction, it makes like somewhat sense to give them the masthead, right? Because like, the TR got the Striker as their faction launcher, and the VS got the Lancer, which are both very good at taking down ESF, and the NC got the Phoenix, which is not so good. Yeah,
only for killing spawns.
And then they thought like, And then they thought, like, I'm gonna take, like, I'm gonna give them the masthead. And it's like, in a vacuum, okay, sure. But then you realize that, the anti-material rifles are equipped by the engineers. And so that's gonna be the pilots, that run the masthead.
It is amazing. The masthead has two problems. It's like the number one thing that's wrong with anti-air, which is that it has infinite range. It's amazing over range. But if there's some ESF that's like low to the ground, it can take cover. And it's on the engineer, so you can put it in your vehicle, and if there's something attacking you, you can get out and masthead things to death. I play Libs a lot of times with 3 people in it, and if there is an ESF attacking me, I can just land and masthead twice, and the ESF is gone. There's nothing more to the interaction. But more importantly, it has infinite range, so it is so easy to kill air-to-air ESFs with it that are trying to kill you air-to-ground. When the masthead got introduced, the PPA and Banshee kills stayed the same on the stats, but the airhammer stats got like 50% higher. The masthead did nothing to fend off air-to-ground. It just defended in sea air-to-ground better against air-to-air.
That's interesting.
This is something that a lot of people just don't see, with how air-to-air makes no-fly zones that are amazing for air-to-ground play around.
Oh no, but you're right about that. Actually, you're very.
Look at it. I wish ground-to-air would be a fucking close-range shredder, but less effective at long range.
Yeah, but basically the fix for ground to air would be the same as air to ground. No, make it like conditionally strong. It's like good close range and fades off into the distance, right? That way you have to expose yourself, like if you want to come close, right? Yeah.
Next thing on the list, if you don't fly ESF, this was something you will never experience in the game, but outrepairing is wild. The thing that the Liberator ESF interaction is coined by is the Liberator landing and outrepairing you. Literally introduced the Havoc missiles just to make that interaction more bearable, but even that is just a band-aid fix, and you can't just fly around with Havocs all the time because an ESF is so reliant on afterburner pods. It is the same with Galaxies. Like, Galaxies are already incredibly tanky to ESF nose guns. It takes 10 max damage needler clips to kill a Galaxy. Like, that isn't getting repaired. That is more ammo than a stock Mossy even has.
No, that's not.
If you have repair Galaxies, the repair is strong enough to literally out-repair you shooting the Galaxy. You do no damage.
But I have to say, though, right, I thought about this because you talked to me about this like before we did this podcast, and if we live in a world where my changes that I proposed for the max, for example, went through and they're only pullable from the warp gate, I actually wouldn't mind it too much if the Galaxy had a lot of resistances, because the Liberator has a lot of inherent, it's not that much affected by the Galaxy's resistances. No, the Liberator can like one burst a Galaxy.
2 tank busts and 2 Daltons, or like 6 Daltons without fire sap.
But that might encourage people to pull, because right now the only people that pull Liberators are people just like running around killing Sunnies like TestMir. No, like, and that would give him like a different role, I would say.
I mean, they are already, a Liberator already has weapons to kill everything, and if there's a Gal, you have to kill that Gal, otherwise the Gal will kill you.
Oh yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah.
I feel like in ESF, I don't like that you need something special to kill heavy air with. I wish fuel pods and a nose gun would be enough to do all anti-air, because that is the most fun and the highest skill ceiling.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah, you're right.
Versatile as well.
But TestMir, like, one issue I would have with that, how would that scale if there was 3 ESFs? They would annihilate a Galaxy then, or like, how does this?
I would like to nerf, like, give the rep gals the same nerf that rep Sundies have, but the repair effect is like nerfed on other rep gals, on other gals. Repair Sundies only repair other repair Sundies like 50%. as strongly
But
as other
but do
vehicles.
the resistances they remain? It's just that the repair change goes
Personally,
through.
I think the Galaxy should die in a few clips less. I feel like 7 clips would be a little better, because 10 is insane. And you see it in the Outfit Wars matches when
yeah.
we have 16 reverts, and everyone has to put more than a clip into a gal of focus fire, which is a long time, just to kill a single gal.
Yeah,
It's-
that's pretty.
On live, you don't have 16 reverts.
Yes, that's true. Plus, it also creates a dynamic, right? If you make galaxies more vulnerable, you might actually be encouraged to
actually have
take
to
some
defend
ESS
them.
with
Isn't that
it.
crazy?
Exactly. Yeah. Crazy. Dude.
Crazy.
You have to bring
Actually-
maxes. You gotta have good air as well. So it makes then outfits have to also diversify. Can't just
Currently on live, good ESF players don't even shoot galaxies ever. It's
Yeah.
a waste of
Yeah,
it's a
that's
waste
absolutely
of time,
true.
a waste of ammo. And good ESF players don't shoot lips that they know have the brain to actually out-repair them, because it's a waste of
Yeah.
time too. Why risk getting Dalton when you don't even have the chance of getting a kill? And I
Plus,
don't
it's
think
the same.
that's a
Like,
healthy way of playing.
Even like outside of Outfit Wars, I feel like 2 rep galaxies with bulldogs, they just give me straight up aneurysms on live play. Right, like it's so unbelievably unenjoyable. Like if you're on the receiving end of it, and you can take all the damage you want, and I mean it's just that it generates free value just like that, right? This is like it's kind of like a motion spotter, right? Where you put it down and that's the value. And the rep galaxies, if they're together, you just get free value.
I don't
Yeah.
want to make the galaxy weak. If you feel like the guns aren't powerful enough to sustain the more fragile galaxy, then make the gun stronger. But
Yeah.
having a live gameplay where you just never even shoot a galaxy, you just blink at it once, so if in case it crashes to get the XP, is
Yeah.
not
feel
fun.
like I feel like the ground. I feel like tanks are better against galaxies
Yes,
than
against lips too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's I galaxies are not so hard to hit even with any of the tanks. Honestly, it's quite easy to hit them even when they're quite far away, because they are so big. So
they
you
can't
don't have
move
to.
quickly, right? Can't
Yeah,
switch
exactly.
direction.
So unless they get out of line of sight of me, I can usually damage them to the degree that I'll almost kill them, or I can kill them, depending on if they
6 Prowler APs for a galaxy.
6. I think 12 shots. I think it is to kill a galaxy. I think
6. It is 6.
Well, it's 2 shots every time, so it's 12 shots. Like it's
No, I mean it's
6
literally
times 2.
6 shots of a Prowler AP. 3 bursts.
No, it's not. No. You don't kill a
1,500 per
galaxy.
hit, and it's 9k.
Oh no.
HP.
You need.
Choon, I did the math.
Oh, I've tried it also, but that is not correct. You need
1v1.
You need.
Sure thing.
You need like. I think it was. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's not discuss that then. But yeah, I know I tried it recently also. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Duel my galaxy on Jaeger.
Okay.
Absolutely.
New
Just like the
live
most
stream with the
lamest year
podcast,
or
guys.
whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. A few
Okay.
more things that are frustrating for pilots. For 10 years now, we've been crying about the skybox of Esamir, that it is too wide and that our tracers
Yes.
are too wide too. And
Damn,
they've
dude.
changed it 5 times, and it's still wide, Schmitty.
Yeah, but
Why am I not allowed to see my tracers on Esamir?
Yes,
Mario.
look at the bright side of it. We also get
Yeah,
Oscar
it's too
with the very
bright.
same problem now also. So I mean, like
The Osha
nah,
has the same issue.
we can't
Yeah.
do it here. I mean,
Why do we have to go through black magic particle settings just to be allowed to see where our tracers are
I
flying?
want to see
and-
where I'm
Yeah.
shooting, Rel. Come on.
there is no tracer settings that allows you to see the tracers on Esamir. Not that I know of, at least. I
know
mean,
what would be
Oscar.
cool?
Depends on the faction.
Yeah, you
I
you
have-
can.
I have-
Oh,
put
that
your-
too, yeah.
Yeah. It would be so cool if how you can change your faction how they portrayed on the minimap. If you could do that with VFX as well, right? Because that's like that's what they do in Outfit Wars as well, no? Like they just change up the colors. Why can't we customize the actual like colors of the tracers? Yeah, that would be super nice.
Or just stop giving us white skyboxes, please.
Yeah, I guess that.
Give us the. That's another thing. Do things, okay? Give control to the players. Why do I need to go into the user options to my FOV above 74, right? That kind of things, and also with the tracers. Why do I have to make
Put
my
my ini file to read only, so I
Yeah.
can switch my low tracers to
To
ultra to get
high.
the best particle render distance with the
Yes.
best visible particles at the same time? Yes.
Why
then
do
have
I need to
black
do that?
magic.
Why can't it just be a setting? Okay, I like this, so I click it in the settings in the game where also new players can change it, and I don't have to have played for 2,000 hours and need to know the people that know about this thing, right? I need to know certain people that have played with this before, so I can ask them, hey, how do you get the tracer? And then they tell me, oh, you have to go here. Why
Yes.
why is that not in the game, dude? Like, a new player needs to go to so many hoops to get on the same level and then have to practice to get on the same.
I mean, this
So
exists for everything.
Insane, dude.
Yeah, this
It's
exists for the
insane.
infantry as well.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Ashi asked, like, oh, why can't we play the game on high graphics? Well, the answer is like all your particle effects are layered completely wrong, and they're also like they rob you of the actual game experience. And so if you play on ultra or high, all that happens is that you have insane clutter effects ruining your gameplay, and a lot of them are also completely hardware ruining. No, like Ashi runs like a 3080 Ti or something like that, and I think like the latest Intel gen or even like a Ryzen, right? But nonetheless,
Top piece.
for a normal individual, like good luck, good luck. I have a 2080 Ti and a 9900K in my computer, so also nothing to scoff at, right? I can run like ray tracing Cyberpunk, no problem.
Still a 2KD bolt.
No, it's not too. Come on.
No,
Under the belt.
No, but it is really disturbing to me, right? That that you basically have to handicap the game so you can actually play it normally, right? And so it's like, and you also know that they could make it into the options. They could do that because there are options in the game, right? You can in fact enter the commands into your chat box and it's fine.
Yeah.
So you can tie that to an option in the menu. They just didn't do that.
but that's toxic.
I think another frustrating things that I don't really it gets mentioned is that the difference on the tracers between day and night is enormous.
Oh yeah, that's
During
true.
the day, you can't see shit. On the night,
Is
I
that
have
a-
no
is
problem.
that a
It's
tank
perfect.
thing? Oh, because of the skybox, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see my tracers perfectly on SMR at night. No
Yes.
problem at all. Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense
In
because
daytime,
exactly,
it's horrible.
yeah.
It's crazy. It
Yeah.
looks like you're looking at the sun directly.
Yeah.
I feel like we understand skyboxes now.
Yeah.
Recently, the last two maps were added, like the rework of Essim and Osher, have big problems for air because there is no natural cover anywhere. They're just flat.
Oh, that's true.
And that is an issue for air because we need cover to not get anti-air from render range. But also, since the Prowler is so strong, you will get Prowler AP'd from everywhere, especially if you play heavy air. Like
Yeah,
lips and
especially
galaxies.
after the update, huh?
Oh god.
Oh
Yeah, if that comes through.
Hope so. All these overpowered libs are gonna go down. One tank to rule them all. Fuck.
Yeah.
Osher and Essim is very painful for air. And
Lined up, yeah.
I wish the Destiny
Wow,
didn't
great.
notice
Yeah.
how important natural cover is for vehicles too.
You're not gonna hear me complain about any balance of the
Yeah,
tanks.
Yeah,
when
mm,
this update comes out.
Before you get Prowler AP
Hey,
from
Choon.
render range again. Ready to hear you
I mean,
mauled.
The Prowlers are gonna complain about the Chimeras from render range, not the other way
Sure.
around.
June is gonna complain about noobs all the
It's just
time.
gonna- it's just gonna be
like,
everything
why
from
isn't there
render
more
range.
air? I want more air.
C4 ESF incoming.
Yeah, I'm flank around all the time. I think.
Talking about C4 ESFs, guys.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, June.
So the reason C4 ESFing is so easy nowadays is because nanites just don't even matter. We have a creep of discounts and nanite boosts in this game. With membership, nanite boosters, ASP discount, outfit discounts, and construction, it is just impossible to ever run out of nanites. I can be a force multiplayer main, playing Banshee or Airhammer literally all day, no matter how often I die. I can I can kill a tank with a C4 mosquito, and it costs me less than half the nanites that it took that MBT driver to pull the MBT.
Yeah.
I think that's a little stupid.
No.
Well, to actually kill an ESF reliably, you need at least 3. A tank reliably with an ESF, you need 3 C4. 2 is not very reliable. So I mean,
I don't mean C4s. I mean C4 ESFs are stupid. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to talk about that issue. I want to talk about the fact that dying in a vehicle doesn't mean anything anymore because you have infinite nanites.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of loops back as well to what we said in the first episode. No, that your choice of force multiplier is both completely meaningless, right? Because it's an arbitrary thing. You can like keep repulling it. You have no consequences, and you also have little impact apart from. I saw this in Dogpiece chat, and I think I kind of want to mention it here. I thought it was funny. So Gretchen said that the ESF. Not the ESF. That Planetside is like a fun transaction game, and so when you kill somebody, it's like +1 fun, and then you die, it's like -1 fun, right? And for people like me, it's like you kill somebody, it's like +0.2 fun, and then I die, and it's like -5 fun. But it's
-5 fun for everything in the Discord channel.
Yeah, exactly.
-10 for every minute I played it.
but that's exactly. Yeah, if you play Osho, there's like a constant drain of fun. Yeah, but this is like this is like, and of course, I mean, partially it has to do with my character flaw or whatnot. But I think when you're in an ESF, when you play a cheesy playstyle, this transaction gets kind of tilted towards the player. Right, so like if I play ambush or shotgun jump, I don't care how many times I die because I'm always right in the action again and whatnot. And the same goes for the vehicle. Yeah, the same goes for the vehicle. You never really, like, if you die in a vehicle, it's really whatever because you can just pull it again. So what's the matter? Especially air vehicles, you can just keep pulling, right?
It's from construction for free. Yeah,
exactly.
So what I want to do, nanites were meant to limit the fact. Limit how many force multipliers we can pull. But it doesn't work anymore because we got so many nanite boosters and shit, and we got the literally only pay-to-win thing in this game is just membership nanite boosters. I would like to remove all nanite boosters. I would like to remove ASP discounts and outfit discounts. I don't see what value they bring. If you feel like that would be too restrictive for vehicle players, just reduce the base price of vehicles. Have an equal playing field, so it's not like this ASP character gets to play more vehicles than this VR1. Like, why should that be?
Skill, but being rewarded for skill is already that you are killed than the other guy, and you kill him. You can kill more people and have more of an impact on the game. But if that player then also gets more bonuses
more
and
often,
all the stuff, it brings it completely out of whack, basically. Now. Yeah, continue.
Now, we still have construction vehicle spawns, and I think I would like to keep them, but restricted. I don't want you to be able to pull infinite air-to-ground shit from a construction vehicle like Airpad, but I want to have a tool for new players to not get nanite starved immediately because they get one-clipped. I would like interceptors, like the ESFs that you can pull from Bastions, to be pullable from construction Airpads. But for that to be actually worth something, I want them to have reasonable loadouts. Right now they have ejection seat and flares. That makes no sense.
It's the worst thing for everything, basically.
Give them hover airframe, fire sub, and auto repair. Or even better, let us pull interceptors from anywhere, just make them their own vehicle, and let us decide what loadouts we have on them. But don't give them air-to-ground shit. Give them a normal nose gun, give them like a rotary or locust or standard, and always give them fuel pods and have them be there for like a lower cost than the standard ESF.
Don't forget, remove mouse acceleration.
Yes.
The most important thing. Now a question for Choon. If I want to go through with this, nanites have to mean something again. We still have construction spawns for ground vehicles. What ground vehicles should you be allowed to pull? What do you think? Should you be allowed to pull ground vehicles at all from construction?
I think so. I mean, honestly, I think that I don't know. I agree with you in a sense, but there's also another side of it. Like depending on what kind of interactions you have with construction. I feel like construction can be a lot of fun. It can bring very intense fights because people are able to pull vehicles from there. So if you are someone that likes to shoot other vehicles, whatever, if you're flying or you're on the ground, you can have a lot of engagements. I've had a lot of. I remember this one time. You could make the. It's sort of like it could be like construction. Could be because there was a time when you got 150 nanites per minute. There was a time in, I don't remember, sometime in the spring or winter in 2021, I think it was, when you got 150 nanites per minute. There was so much action on the ground in terms of vehicles because people were pulling vehicles all the time. So, of course, it's sort of like you get used to how many vehicles are getting pulled. So then, in order to have fun again, you need to have even more vehicles to shoot at. But it was so intense. You had these fights all the time, and I think that that's the way I think construction should be used. But that is not how it's being used. It's being used as some kind of I don't even know always why people
just like a
using it.
flail silo, dude. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, if people used it because they could create these interesting battles, then you'd have to have a good map design that allowed a lot of vehicles to fight each other, so this doesn't become these. There's a bridge in between two sides and just lobbing shells at each other, and then
Yeah.
it becomes like, oh, I can hit this guy 5 times, and now he has to go repair his vehicle, and then you sit there and repair your vehicle for how long it takes.
Choon, my guy, my favorite. Do you remember my question?
Yes. So I think that it's good the way it is. I think that you should be able to pull them. I've even thought about pulling tanks from there, but I don't know why you couldn't. It would be interesting to see if you could. What would change if you could pull tanks from it also? But then again,
As an infantryman, what can you pull at the moment? I mean, obviously people
Lightning,
air.
Sarasarus, Flash, and Sunday.
Yes.
That's
And
fair. That sounds.
ESFs, Valkyrie, no Lips, no Galaxies, no MBTs.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable choice.
I mean, no ESFs, please. Just Interceptors. No Infinite Band.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm full on board with that. That sounds very reasonable. The Interceptor chain in particular, because right now they're they're castrated ESFs, right? They can fly, and that's about all.
They are they were a good idea, and then they gave them the worst loadout.
I mean, but I think it all has to do with where the information comes from, right? But no, I mean, even then, it's kind of yeah. I mean, I guess the information. I mean, it's not like the community is silent, no. Like what TestMir here is voicing. I looked it up a bit on Reddit and whatnot. Like people had very similar solutions, right? It's like especially regarding the interceptor.
It's nothing.
Right. Yeah, and I really wonder why it just falls on deaf ears, right? Like because it feels really like right now all an interceptor is basically fodder for people with a fully kitted out ESF that know how to fly to farm. Right? And it's kind of in a way it's like the opposite of what they wanted the heavy to be, right? Right, like they go like, oh no, you can't like farm endless amounts of people with the heavy. Here, have your none with armor nerf, adrenaline shield nerf here and there, right? And then yet for the air, it's like, yeah, how about we give our new starting players that want to defend their bastion like the most unusable bad vehicle we can think of.
It would be so interesting if it would be so much. It would be very interesting and very like if the developers actually would engage the player base a little more, talk about things, and sort of like, this is what we want to do, and it's feel like they're just it's not, I don't know. So you have to balance it, sort of like they have to earn money, but it also has to be fun for us.
Yeah, and for all kinds of players, right?
Yeah,
for the vets and not only for the new players.
Exactly. But like, if they don't play the game, how do they know what is funny and what is actually good for us, what we appreciate, and who is the what is the player base that gives them the most money? I guess that's
we know
determine.
That's I guess the vets, right?
Us. Yeah, that's us. We know
that's
that.
the vets.
Yeah. This is what got them bought by by Daybreak Games to begin with, right? Sony sold it. And one of the sales pitches was that they have a very like
Dedicated
loyal
community.
veteran community
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
keeps paying, no matter what you throw at them. Mhm.
Yeah. True. So I mean,
And you alienate them, right? You alienate these players by removing their skill expression. Like it's like you play this game for thousands of hours and for years. I want to be able to farm the shit out of some battle rank 1, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like if I do it, I'm the toxic, horrible individual. Even though statistically, it's like impossible for me that I meet those people anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I don't know. There's, I mean, this game just clashes between people that enjoy first-person shooters and the people that like to cap bases that might as well be playing some other game. Like, so there's always this clash between them.
But
But you
that's
can
okay.
put them
That-
together.
And
Yeah.
both have veterans in them.
Yeah, but that's okay in my opinion, because the people that like to cap bases need to accept that they get farmed by people who are better in the shooting department, right? I think the whole thing about who is this game for? This game is an FPS game, and all these like people like Zealous, right? They have been saying for years before Outfit was, yeah, but we are the tactical guys. We like care about the community. We're not toxic, shooters basically. Well, guess what? The shooters can also think tactically, and they outplay you in all disciplines of the game.
It's like
So,
look.
it's
This
an
is the
FPS.
T argument. This is the T argument. I
Yeah.
had this. Look, I had this when I was on the stream with Ashi. We talked about this as well.
Mm.
And I said, like, look, this game isn't an it's not an RTS. And he was like, oh, it isn't an RTS. But some people will disagree, and like, like I can order my people.
It's fine.
And
They
I
can
said, like,
disagree.
oh,
They're wrong.
No, I said actually, exactly. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And I said that it's like, look, if you think that your macro decisions, because you're some Napoleon or whatever, influences the map state, you're completely delusional, right? What really influences the map state is individual micro decisions by good players that add up, and then you win the base. Right, this is what T was, right? Because we understood this. Doc P was no mastermind, doing, like, he made the macro callouts, but we knew that everything, like from the ground up worked. And so it really bothers me that I said this to Ash as well. I was like, look, this game is as much of an RTS as, for example, fucking Counter-Strike, right? Just because you have 5 people and they all pick a position, there is a tactical element to it, right? But it isn't an RTS. It isn't fucking StarCraft.
Can have tactics in an FPS, but to give Doc P credit, right? Because you say, yeah, Doc P makes the calls, but the individual squads make the micro decisions.
Oh, yeah, Doc P,
the bases.
of course, he makes really good.
Yeah, but
calls.
the thing is, let's say you like most outfits would say, okay, well, Dio is has some nice players in there. Most outfits would say Dio is better than them, right? Actually, no. Yeah.
No.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, when I'm thinking about it, it's like, it does make sense because they have maybe worse leadership than Bok, but they still beat them. So how does that work out, right?
The answer is
it's because
the
decisions. Yeah,
individual players make better decisions than.
Well, they are just better, right? They're just better than the Bok player. Yeah, so Doc P is only as good as I am, as the players in TR. Yeah,
obviously. But think about it. If you had somebody that knows the map state, right? Doc P is such a good leader because he knows the map state and he knows how capture timer work and how to engage people. It must suck to lead against Doc P in outfit.
Oh yeah,
wars,
I
right?
don't
For
want to be in
sure.
that position.
Exactly, yeah, because like that man knows his shit and he knows he has a good battle plan and he has people behind him that can enact it.
He's a degree, man. He's a doctor.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
yeah, sorry, continue.
No, but you have these right. Really, people become. The fundamental issue of Planetside is that it has an identity crisis. That people, right, that from the beginning you didn't understand this is a shooter, right? It doesn't need to be an arena shooter. You can make it asymmetric with like interesting factions and actually, make it goal orientated. But then everything has to play around the point, right? Then this is like what Overwatch gets so well as well, right? They balance their heroes around the game modes, right? In Planetside, they don't do that. They just like make like like a one-on-one infantry interaction in a vacuum. The heavy is OP because he can put the shield on, then he out tanks the medic. Crazy, But it's like, but that's not what. Like, no, that's not how the game plays. Okay. Anyway, let's continue then.
So right now, situation with Bastions. Someone pulls a Bastion, it flies over a fight, everyone redeploys away because nobody wants to deal with that shit. You're an aircraft, you want to fight at a Bastion, you fly in there, suddenly there's 5 walkers on steroids shooting you until you're out of their render distance. I think that's a little sad. I feel like when they introduced Bastions, they also took away the aerial anomalies from us, because the idea was that Bastions are now the new thing that should get people into the air, into flying air to air. But the way it is designed, that doesn't really happen. Like,
it sounds like it would get me out of the air. Yeah.
Like either you overzerk the Bastion so hard that you can just individually tank the walkers and kill all the fucking ESFs around it, and then shoot the hard points for 5 minutes until the Bastion is dead, or you like stay on render range at the Bastion and hope that someone flies towards you. I
feel like
I wish the Bastion was like a new aerial anomaly, like a reason to make people fly air to air.
Oh man, the old aerial anomaly.
Yeah, but for that, it can't have the anti-air turrets. Like the defense against air should be the free ESFs you get from the Bastion. That would be much more fun.
Yeah, good idea.
I feel like there's so many things that disturb me about the Bastion, apart from the air-to-air compartment, that I think I might actually discuss it in a separate episode when we have Doc P on for outfit leading.
Yeah.
Because I honestly believe it is such an abomination. It's crazy. Right. First off, like you can legit emulate the stats of very famous hackers if you're in a Bastion. It's only a right click on the map. Yeah. The only interesting loadout you could do is to have assassins, so you can see all the people you're shooting at, and that's about it. All right, and it's like I talked about this with character as well. No, do you guys know a game called Dreadnought? It's very old, or not very old. It's like Unreal Engine 4 based, and you have these big ships that you steer. It's like World of Tanks kinda, but with like big spaceships instead, or like World of Warships or whatever. And how cool would it be if Bastions had like Bastion versus Bastion guns, like actual big cannons, that fire at Bastions. And that's kind of all the captain can do. And he maybe gets like a lot of logistical bonuses for the people on the ground, maybe he can drop anvils, and maybe he can,
drop players, drop anvils, have infinite interceptor spawns. That's already very valuable.
And it's like then it becomes something you can use for like actually big operations. And if somebody else puts a Bastion, you can like shoot at one another and it looks cool, and you still have the same imposing like Bastion thing, and you can have the air take out each other's hard points. That's like I would like something like this. But the Bastion, like the fact that it can shoot at the air is very frustrating, and like for the same reasons that almost any anti-air is frustrating. But now you can't kill it easily. Now it's like tied to this huge like mega abomination. The person that's steering it doesn't have any fun. The people that are getting shelled by the Mauler also don't have any fun. Like it's unreal to me, right? Like the whole concept of it is very bad. They thought it's gonna break the Zergs, and all it does is like make one person like or make Zergs even harder. Like now,
remove
if I want to
file from the map every minute.
Yeah, now it's like I want to spawn in at an overpop, right, and like try and fight against the odds because I know I'm a quote unquote better player. Right, and then I go like, now I can have like a nice underdog fight and a good low pop point hold or whatever, and then I'm just like eternally spawn locked because the Bastion is shelling like one of the only fights on the on the continent. Cool.
I would love to engage these 5 Mossies next to Bastion. Unfortunately, if I do so, I will get shredded.
No.
Not by the air.
Bastions are like a whole bucket of problems, just all mangled up together in like
But
freaking Steinian
they have
matter.
the potential to be like aerial anomalies, like
Yeah.
a reason to go somewhere and fight air there.
But they combined the arms test me, and now you can get like flags from a
arms have been
Bastion.
combined again.
Yeah. Damn.
Mixed opinions on Bastions. I there are times when I have encountered Bastions that have been pulled by people who are very inexperienced in the game and don't know that you need to move your Bastion. If you just sit still, it's very easy for ground vehicles even to shoot at the hard
Bottom
points and take them
at
out.
least.
So there are areas also on for example, Indar, Crimson Bluff. If you're in a prowler, that's the best example. In a prowler around Crimson Bluff, and there is a Bastion around Howling Pass, or even like or in that area where you're on the higher ground in a prowler, and the Bastion is quite low ground, you can shoot the points on the sides, and you can also shoot them from below, so you can take out 2/3 of the Bastion hard points from, or no, not 2/3, but half of them, but with just a prowler.
That's like shooting construction.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but I've done that many times, and then I feel like, why are people not killing why are they not shooting at the Bastion? It's so easy to do it even from the ground, but
It's
then
just
there
not
are,
fun.
It takes too long. Yeah.
Well,
You don't even get XP from it.
yeah, you do. It's 2,000 for one hard point. I mean,
Crazy.
Wow.
I mean,
you have to shoot for 10 minutes to get 2,000
No, it
XP.
doesn't
And you
take
might
that
you
long.
might even get the kill and not the other guys around you.
Well, I mean,
Oh, man.
I've gotten the kill quite a few times actually on those Bastion hard
Whoa.
points.
Wow.
There's few people actually shooting at them, but
Insane
it's quite
gamer
easy.
tune.
Well, I mean, I do find it kind of enjoyable to find the lead on the hard points. So I think it's kind of fun to shoot them, because once you kill them, they're gonna. I know whoever is inside is gonna freak out also, because they're gonna think it's a Colossus that's shooting at them.
Okay,
I
guys.
bet you're the kind of guy who pulls a sky gap
Guys,
anomaly.
I have to
No,
place.
no, no, no.
I have to place an asterisk here because maybe the younger viewers wouldn't understand.
I'm
Yeah.
already dreading this.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. How can I say this gracefully, Choon?
Don't say it gracefully, just say it.
Look, we all get
Look,
old at some point.
Yeah,
We
and
have to find
Choon.
joy in something else.
And Choon is already there, and you might not be, but this is.
I'm not a hash tanker yet, okay? Maybe I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet, so don't worry. Don't
In
worry.
10 years, when he's retired, then he's
Yeah,
a hash tanker, guys.
Yeah. Then I'm
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna be a hash tanker. Deploy a hash problem, exactly.
Still swearing about noobs, yeah. But, okay.
Me.
Okay.
Let us have great air fights around Bastions.
Yes.
Make Bastions a logistical thing.
Yeah.
Not a farm machine nobody wants to play around.
1,000
That would
HP
be
Sunder.
cool.
And if you want to see how toxic a Bastion really is, watch Dogbeat's video, the first Bastion on Cobalt, maybe, I guess. Put a link down in the description, right, for a great outfit leader.
All
Okay.
right, you do that. I will definitely forget that.
Yeah, I will. I'll write it down here, actually, because I would forget it too. Yeah.
I'd like to talk about ESF versus ESF balance.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
good
bit-
idea with the nose gun. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So there's something that people on Reddit and even the devs get wrong all the time, and that is the difference between what the difference between the ESFs actually is. Even in the codex, it's wrong. So
Uh-oh.
every ESF, Mossy, Scythe, and Reaver have the same yaw speed, which is A and D, the same pitch speed, which is mouse away and towards you, and the same roll speed, which is mouse to left and right. The Mossy does not have more roll speed than the other ESFs. That is wrong in the codex. The difference is the Mossy has more top speed without afterburner, and the Reaver has a stronger afterburner and stronger ascent and descent that is control in space. The Scythe has the same control space and afterburn as the Mossy. The difference of the Scythe is it has a very thin front profile. One thing that a lot of people get wrong, the Reaver has a bigger top and bottom profile than the Scythe. So a lot of people say Scythe has the big pancake angle, that is its weakness. That's not true.
Yeah, because it's like this crescent moon, right?
That's the thing at the
Exactly.
front, yeah.
Yeah, even if it wasn't the crescent, like the crescent moon thing makes it worse because you don't aim for the prongs on the side, you aim for the middle part. That isn't that
Yeah.
big. But when we for good pilots, it doesn't matter. You hit that anyway. The thing is, in every competitive air event, like all these dual tournaments that people did, the Scythe has been banned. It has been banned for 10 years. The Scythe's front profile is so thin, it is insanely good in like one-on-one engagements. You just don't hit the Scythe as much as you can the other ESFs. This gets made even worse with the forced mouse acceleration, where you can't really put your tracer where you want it to be.
The micro adjust as well.
Yeah. And the problem I have with that is that for some reason, the Scythe nose guns are stronger than the Mossy's nose guns.
Yeah.
Yep.
They share the same DPS, like the rotaries at least are the exact same, but the Mossy has more damage drop-off over range. It got even more damage drop-off, like the Needler got more damage drop-off with the CAI for no particular reason. While at the same time, the Mustang, which is the NC's nose gun, got less damage drop-off. And I don't see why. I feel like the Scythe is currently the better air-to-air platform than the Mossy. I don't see why the Mossy should get worse guns. The same thing goes for Mossy and Reaver. Like the Reaver has better afterburner, which is huge.
Yeah.
Huge in dogfights, huge in jumping. I don't see why the Reaver should get so much better guns than the Mossy. What I would like to change is the Mustang currently is so good over range that there is no reason to ever use the Kestrel, which is the no damage drop-off locust cannon the NC has. So I feel like the Mustang should get more damage drop-off. The Needler should get less damage drop-off. And the Scythe, because of its super slim front profile, should get even more damage drop-off than the other two guns. The reason for that is fighting a Scythe over range is incredibly difficult. Nobody likes to do it. Fighting a Scythe close range is still difficult, but it's manageable. I'd like to incentivize not doing long-range Scythe. I don't want to say crutching.
But yeah,
That.
you heard it here first, guys.
And there is no second opinion about that. That is what all the pilots agree with. The second thing with the rotaries, the Mossy and the Scythe have the same DPS, 2,500. But for some reason, the Vortex rotary, the NC one, gets 3,000 DPS. The Reaver with its afterburner is already by far the best group fight vehicle, the best jumping vehicle. It doesn't need more DPS on its rotary than the other two.
I know we at NC air is pretty strong, and NC infantry is also pretty good.
It makes sense, like in the context, like when it was made, we were all terrible at flying. So people thought, oh, the Reaver has the biggest front profile, so we have to make the weapon stronger to balance it out. But nowadays, people are good at the game and can abuse the strong afterburners. I don't understand why the Scythe got better weapons than the Mossy. That never made sense to me. That's just where we are now.
I have some theories where I don't know if this is something that the developers actually base their how they balance ESFs on, but
because the strikers were fucking overpowered back in the day.
Well, there is a reason, but I also think that for whatever reason on Cobalt, TR has always been the faction where everyone who enjoys to fly stack on. There was Bling, even back in the day, like it was Cytus considered overpowered. It was easy. So, and then the Reaver, there wasn't. I don't know why TR became the faction where everyone was.
People usually say that most pilots got to TR because the striker was so unbelievably broken back in the day.
Back when actually. Prowler might be a reason as well.
I mean, nowadays, sure, but back in the day, Prowlers were too bad for that. But the strikers would go through terrain with infinite range.
Yeah, but I think TR has always had a vehicle advantage, because for some reason TR has always pulled more vehicles. I see it even today. I feel like TR is always the faction with the most vehicles. They always have a vehicle dominance, and that makes it easier for players to fly on TR, because they're not going to get shot down by tanks in the same extent.
Nowadays, Prowler AP is a big thing because people got good enough to actually hit. And with the Prowler, it's so easy.
But so I think that the numbers also have been why the Moss isn't as strong, because it has more drop off. I this is a theory. I'm not sure, but I think it's because there's been so much stacking on TR on many servers. A lot of pilots they refuse to play VS because it's considered lame and too strong
against the Bushido. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's actually happening.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
therefore, I
not
think
a
the
joke.
numbers that the Mosse is doing better than the site, for example, because there aren't that many good ESF pilots on VS, because most of them find it just lame and boring to play VS for that reason. So I think it makes the statistics, if they base it on that, a little bit skewed in favor of TR, despite it being weaker.
So
it's also gonna crush it harder faction-wise, no? Because if you buff the Mossy, and like again, right, we run into this weird faction balance issue a lot with this, because like you said before, TestMir, the TR has the striker, right? The VS has the lancer, right? And C kind of okay, whatever. But they have a stronger ESF, right? And so it's like, I don't know, like I'm with you on the nerfs if it is like in a vacuum, right? If the air-to-air is in a vacuum, right? But or rather with the buffs, rather, right? But it becomes much more complex looking at it in a bigger picture, which doesn't mean I don't like disagree with your proposed changes. I think they make a lot of sense, like on paper, right? I just wonder how it might pan out as well.
Yeah. Nobody knows.
I think Prowler AP shouldn't be able to one-shot ESFs. It should be like it was before. 70% of our ESF's health. That's fine, like it was before.
I mean,
that's better.
Do 90. Who cares? Like we have fires up.
Yeah. I mean,
not getting the one-shot is a big deal.
Exactly. I find it's just a stupid change that it already has the highest velocity. It reloads very fast. It got 2 shots. It shouldn't one-shot ESFs. It's just
talking about fires up, by the way. There is another thing that can go in that slot called flares, and flares is currently completely useless. Nobody uses it.
Never seen anyone running flares apart from the.
There is a niche for flares for ESFs, like when you know that the enemy has billion strikers, but especially on heavy air lips and galaxies, if you don't run fires up, you're stupid. The fires up on the lip heals you, even if you're not burning already, for 750 health if you click it. And a lock-on launcher does 700 HP.
So what you're proposing is more organized lock-on squads to shoot down lips. That's what I think.
No, I'm muting you right now too.
That's so obscure.
A big problem with flares, like they're supposed to save you from ground to air, but they only save you from one half. Like your lock-ons are only one half of ground to air. The other half is flak. They don't save you from bursters and skyguards at all. I wish if you use flares, you would get the same 7-second immunity, not just from lock-on attempts, but also from the flak detonation. You can only get hit by direct flak hits. Then it would actually do its intended purpose.
Sort of like stealth used to be on ESFs. You couldn't get hit by coyotes and strikers.
Not just that. I mean, that flares already does that, but I want it for flak, for bursters, skyguards.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You
imagine
exactly.
It could be like, in Battlefield 4, tanks could use reactive armor, right? And then they press it and they're kind of immune for like a few seconds. You could use that to like actually dodge bursts and stuff, right? That would be, I guess, a way to
flares still wouldn't be useful in most situations because having more health is important. But at least they would actually fill their role. I'd like to see that. Not just have fires up flocked in literally always.
I mean, that's something. Then you could keep. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you just need to stop playing just as an individual. You need to play with a team. You should have jammer lock-on gals or jammer gals, however they're called, with you. It's your team, so they can fly around you. Then you can have fire suppression and have
Sure
that
thing.
benefit.
The
And
spare
rep
moment.
galaxies also. So you need to
And
play
when-
together. That's the solution.
Yeah, and when you do that, you also ruin the experience for everybody else. So cool.
All right. On wherever you go, on every air guide, like if you go to Pilots Club on the PS2 Discord or to Phrase Flight School, the number one thing in the pins for new players is do not buy Dogfighting airframe.
Oh, yeah.
That airframe is the biggest noob trap in the air game ever since the game released.
It's the most useless thing in the
What
world.
Dogfighting airframe does is it makes your yaw faster, which is A and D. Unfortunately, you only have one yaw speed because it's bound to a button on the keyboard.
Yeah.
So you literally nerf yourself. You make yourself less accurate by using Dogfighting airframe. And because it's called Dogfighting airframe, all the new players think, "Oh, this is the thing I need for fighting air," and they
The
buy
dogs
it
equip it.
and they nerf themselves.
Yeah.
Understand why that frame is in the game still, honestly.
I would love, in the perfect world, we would rework that airframe
Yeah.
to give it. I mean, it would still be worse than hover because hover dueling is kind of an important thing. But give it something that doesn't actively nerf us, like increase our roll and yaw speed so we can actually be more agile without being less accurate. And for the love of God, please
remove
to fucking evasiveness airframe or something. Don't call it Dogfighting airframe.
Yes, and remove mouse excel for the I don't know how many of time.
Please.
Yes,
Otherwise,
please.
you could let me name it. It would be called Noob Trap Airframe.
Too many new players are buying Dogfighting airframe. Please.
Yeah, it's sad.
But it's in
Please
the name,
remain.
TestMir. Am I not competitive?
What?
Competitive is
It's in the
toxic.
name.
Shmi.
Am I not competitive? Oh yeah, truth. Actually, you're right.
Competition is toxic, and if we believe all the outfit leaders from certain outfits, then
we shouldn't name.
we shouldn't name because then they get angry and they cry to Daddy Rel. Yeah, 1v1.
Fighting airframe.
Yeah, 1v1 in competition is toxic, and good players should be banned because they lose against them, and that's not fair.
But if we win the 1v1, we're toxic, and then if we win the 1v4, we're also toxic. So I guess we just need a good.
Yeah, keep coping. I want to talk about Coyote missiles.
Oh.
Go ahead, dude.
Yeah.
Good bad players.
Coyote missiles is the one skill compression weapon we have on the ESF.
Mm.
How's it work?
You shoot them in the general direction of the ESF. And
It's like a striker, right?
Like a striker, they have a 200-meter lock-on range. If you get into the 200-meter range of an ESF, they lock on, and then they deal damage. They were originally introduced to make players who can't aim in the air more competitive with people who can aim in the air. Unfortunately, the devs forgot that skill players can use them too. And they can use them while also using a Banshee or Airhammer.
Hey.
And sit on all the bad pilots trying to counter the air-to-ground correctly with an ESF.
Yeah.
Which we wanted to encourage.
But that's with a lot of
move
things.
Around, use the movement so the new players cannot hit them while just spamming coyotes at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I would like to change with coyotes, we can't remove them obviously because people bought them with daybreak cache and it would be a waste of time for the devs. I would like to remove the lock-on range, nerf the lock-on range. Right now, you can just jet pilot past someone, and although there's no way you can hit him with a nose gun anymore because you passed him, fire all your coyotes, get 700 free damage, they can't counter it. I would also like to nerf the damage. Right now it's 750 per volley, and we have 3000 HP as an ESF. I feel like that's a little too much, especially since you can use it with a Banshee or Airhammer.
Yeah. It used to be even more insane, right? It used to be way worse.
Even stronger. I don't know what the numbers were.
Super fast, and I think it was 3 magazines when it had I don't know how many seconds, but it was a short period of time it took to actually reload, and it was 3 clips I think to kill an ESF back in the day. So it's been changed a lot of times. But
talking about the Banshee and Airhammer, by the way, right now the Banshee, the Airhammer is the fucking king of air to ground.
Also with the Reaver hovering,
Reddit
right?
gets that wrong all the time. They always say, "Oh, Banshee is so OP with the Armour, you have to get close." But you have the same range with the Banshee and the Armour. Problem difference is if you're actually close with the Armour, you one-shot infantry and you four-shot maxes. Killing burst maxes is a big part of air to ground. With the Banshee, you can miss 2 rounds and then you don't get that one clip, you're gone. With the Airhammer, there's 2 burst maxes, boom, boom, boom. There's no burst maxes anymore. And then with the PPA, you just get depression while being far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, PPA can't do much against.
PPA is useless nowadays compared to the other nose guns, like AI nose gun. Dude, if you watch the old videos, right, from Dark of Druid and Gilla BMF, dude,
PPA was crazy.
Man, it has 70 rounds or something, insane damage, a reload of 0.5 seconds, and it was insane. And look at it now. I mean,
I'm going to say something unexpected now. I'd like to get the power level of the Airhammer and Banshee more in line with the power level of the PPA, not by making the PPA stronger, but by nerfing Airhammer and Banshee. I think right now it is so easy, especially in smaller fights, to just completely lock down a spawn with an Airhammer or Banshee. I don't think that is a lot of fun for most players in the game. It should still be there, of course. Like the ESF is the one aircraft that can really farm that can really enter infantry. But I feel like it's too powerful right now. Don't let me convince them to 2-tap a heavy. Make it 3 taps.
No,
I honestly think that it's like it needs the risk is just too little in my opinion. Like the PPA being kind of bad justifies itself with being very safe, right? Because what's gonna kill you, right? You have a very low
Tank
profile. Yeah, exactly.
Lock-ons don't care about your profile.
Yeah, but
flag don't care about your profile.
I don't think the PPA, maybe give it a slight buff, whatever. I don't really care about the PPA, but the Airhammer,
it's just worse.
The Airhammer and the Banshee, I think they should not be able to farm from like medium range, dude. I think they should get like close in there.
Schmitty, look, a good ground farmer will be close in there because you have to get all the kills and be in hover mode and dodge everything you do.
But then it's okay.
No, it's
thing with the Airhammer is that it's attached to the Reaver. The Reaver is the best ESF in the game for
hovering, man.
Yeah, exactly. You can fly around in a circle without losing any altitude. I mean,
I can do that with a Nazi in Scythe too, man.
Scythe is a lot more difficult. Mostly you can do it, but it's not as easy. Reaver, it's much easier in a Reaver than in the Mossy. And the Mossy is better than the Scythe. The Scythe is the absolute worst.
Dude, give me an Airhammer on the Scythe. I will destroy the server with my Scythe.
I mean,
Tune too old, man.
It's much easier to hover, stay like because of the stronger afterburners and everything. You can actually stay in the air.
Yeah, stay in the tank, old man.
With your Reaver. I honestly, this is something that's been in the game for a long time. This hasn't changed. This is the same as before. Like this is something that pretty much everyone I used to play with also agreed with. That
all your Vanu mains.
The blink.
Hey guys, this is Matthias.
So I mean I absolutely disagree with you here. I absolutely disagree with you here.
The Airhammer is much better than the Banshee though. It's not the Reaver.
But it's also that's attached to the Reaver, I would say. But you disagree there, I guess, because you'd say that you would do as good with the Scythe with Airhammer as you do with the Reaver Airhammer. Is that correct?
No, better with the Reaver. But it's not a big deal.
Oh, it is actually a big deal. It's much. You're falling to the ground.
It is a big deal.
You're wrong. It is a big deal.
Who doesn't have a Araxinus Airhammer?
Okay. Yeah. That was a funny one. Well, I mean, you're falling to the ground in a site.
I think
at a pace
I have
you don't
this
do
space button here.
Anyway,
I just trying to make a Banshee Airhammer.
How about we try it later then?
I think honestly that one of the main grievances with A to G is actually not that closely related to the actual weapon. I think it's a gameplay issue. It's a pace problem. Right, this is what character kind of alluded to. If you die to a Banshee on trying to get back to a point or so, you spend 10 minutes or 10 seconds looking at the Banshee that killed you, then you have to wait 10 or 15 seconds more, like in the respawn screen, depending on the pop. And then, you have to run
Whoa.
back there. And so it's like 40 or 50 seconds of downtime.
That's a bit too much,
for-
but yeah, it's too much downtime.
Exactly. Like, no, because you also have to walk there, right? And so it's like too much downtime. Yeah, it's like too much downtime in total. And that is what makes it so frustrating to get like arbitrarily like clicked away by an ESF.
Yeah.
And so like I really feel like if the pace problem was fixed and you had quicker response maybe and don't have this like in your face kill cam, I think it would be way less annoying. And I also think this is also why people hate the Banshee, right? Because the way the Banshee kills you is so much more memorable than the Airhammer. The Airhammer is like click and it's done. Yeah, but the Banshee, that sound, dude, is in my bones, dude. Like,
no, honestly, Schmitty, I think the whole thing about if you're gonna nerf AI nose guns, it's not gonna be as much fun as it's now to farm air to ground. And the this is not only what the game is about, but I think you can go around this issue by having better base design. Okay.
That's true.
That's another thing, right? You still need to have as much fun as you have now killing ground with your Armour or your Banshee, and maybe buff the PPA a little bit, but make the bases better so it's harder to farm ground, right? Because
it's easy to farm infantry and ground in overpop fights. Like that's where you see all the Banshees and Airhammers.
Yeah.
Because if there's even a single tank around that base, you can't Airhammer a Banshee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always this fine balance. If it's too much overpop, then people will not go out of the spawn room. So it has to be this perfect balance where people are still going out of the spawn room, but it's overpop.
And like the 60% overpop.
Yeah. Yes, something like that. It's also it can't be too close to some base where they can pull tanks and they can snipe you. So it's like you have to sort of understand all these things and when to pull it and everything. But it's.
Okay, now let's. Do you guys have any new points to introduce? Choon and TestMir?
Well, I'm right and TestMir is wrong about the things I disagree with. So.
Okay, yeah, you're 1v1 on Jaeger, right? That was the thing.
That's how we always find out.
Okay,
right.
now how would we fix then to summarize, right? How can we fix the vehicle game? Can we fix it?
Mouse acceleration.
Yes. Remove mouse acceleration.
It go away, please.
Yes. Okay. So very easy change. If you're listening well, you just remove mouse acceleration. We're all grateful.
Okay. Construction AI and sky shields. Remove AI. But don't let us touch sky shields. Make sky shields two-way blocking. Engagement radar on ESFs. Remove it. Make ground to air weapons really strong close range, but don't let them shoot at air-to-air aircrafts that are like further away. If they make them short range weapons.
Yeah.
Find a fix to outrepairing liberators or repair galaxies. Because currently they don't get shot on live at all because it's a waste of time for ESFs.
Single ESFs, maybe you should add, because two ESFs is not useful for, I guess.
Yeah. Give the scythe more damage drop off on its nose guns because of to balance out its thin profile. Give them reverse Mustang more damage fall off. Give the Needler less damage fall off, and bring the Vortex DPS in line with the other rotaries. Make flares useful by giving it immunity to flak detonation as well as immunity to lock-ons. Nerf Coyote's damage and lock-on range. Allow us to spawn interceptors from every air terminal for a lower price than normal ESFs, but also allow us to put reasonable loadouts on them. Currently, they have Razor and Ejection Seat and Flares. Let us put Hover 5-7 Auto Repair on there too. Rework or rename Dogfighting Airframe is currently a trap for noobs and actively nerfs your ESF. please don't make white skyboxes. This is very egregious in SME right now.
Yes.
If you design new maps, make sure there's natural cover for air so we don't get AP'd and skyguarded from everywhere. And at last, make nanites meaningful. Remove nanite boosters, membership nanite boosters, ASP discounts, outfit discounts, and construction spawns for normal ESFs. If necessary, lower the price of vehicles in general to adjust for this change, and only allow interceptors to be spawned from construction bases, so we don't have infinite air to ground from there. That's all I have.
Okay. Sounds reasonable so far. And for Choon, I think, like, if I got it correct, right, one thing would be to make flankable damage, or like to increase flank damage in general, and also try to make top gunners more useful through that. Maybe giving them back their old, flanking.
Values.
Yeah, exactly. What
But
do you think?
also, the tanks are sliding so much on uneven surfaces. Make them more, so they are sort of
Give them more traction.
sticky to the ground.
Yeah.
So you have more control of them, less of this sliding, and it also comes down to, that is a big part of it. Really frustrating. And also the turret shouldn't turn with the tank when the tank is turning. It should be still wherever you have your crosshair. It shouldn't turn with the tank, because if there is something shooting at me from the side, I have to turn my tank and I have to counter this movement of my turret also. And this creates some really frustrating things, because if you're also on this a little slightly uneven terrain, I struggle with it at least. And I think newer players are really struggling with this. So this is not me just complaining. I'm also thinking about how would it be for someone new to the game to use this. It's very, very frustrating, and it's unnecessary. That is not where the difficulty should be. The difficulty should be to aim, and not to
positioning as well.
Yeah, exactly. Position and things like that. Not to counter stupid mechanics that shouldn't be there in the first place. And also the Chimera, when you can drive below it, or you can't shoot behind you. You have to drive it like a car. You can't just turn your whole tank around, but you have to pull left and like backwards and left or right in order to turn your tank, and you have to turn it several times if you're in certain tight spaces. Sometimes it's for that tank to have that kind of disadvantage, it would have to have some kind of advantage otherwise, which it doesn't have. So it's in a bad state. It needs some changes before if it actually should become viable as a tank. And you can't just make it one-shot other tanks with your main cannon to make up for that. It's just gonna have these frustrating parts, and that's not the way to go. It's much better to actually make it more responsive to your movement, and actually make it more similar to the problem in Vanguard in that aspect. So you can actually turn your tank and instead of having to go backwards and then forward and then backwards again in order to turn around completely.
Yeah. And what it were like, and I guess the only other vehicle that should really be touched on is the Harasser as well, right? And that was pretty easy fix, no? Like more damage, less HP, no? Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I suppose
guess
that might
we covered it,
summarize
right?
Well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, I'm the host, Schmitty. Why are you talking? You're the co-host.
What the fuck? Oh my God.
I said it at the start, man.
So true, Grandmaster Thur.
Yeah.
I will crawling back into my hole right now.
You can talk now.
Okay. Yeah, but with that, we can round it up. No? Well summarized, I suppose. Thank you both, TestMir and Choon, for attending. And see you at the next one. Bye, no worries. We're honored.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks for making the time. Yeah, good night.